Hi, welcome to our ASU 13 webinar about writing annual goals and objectives. This is content developed by our special education planning team, and I am one of your presenters, Jessica Broderick, and our other presenter is Kinda Foose. The material that we're using and presenting to you today was developed collaboratively with the Nebraska Department of Education, the Department of Special Education's IEP facilitation cadre, and then the members of our planning team came together to offer knowledge and expertise for each of our webinars. I'm Jessica Broderick. I'm the Assistant Director of Special Education at ESU 13 Scottsbluff.
I am Kinda Foose. I'm the Meridian Lead Teacher at ESU 13 in Scottsbluff.
So our objectives today are to mostly talk to you about a 7-step process to define what areas to write goals in and what that process looks like from beginning to end. And then we'll talk about 2 different methods that can be used to actually write your goals. One is SMART goals, which Kinda will discuss, and the other is ABCDE goals, which I will discuss. So let's get going. The first thing we have for you is just some helpful hints for the goal writing process. So we broke this up into 7 steps, which you can see on your screen. So the first step is to establish a present level. And we do have a separate webinar about that is actually Kinda and I again. So if you need more support with that present level, I would encourage you to check out that webinar. Prioritize needs, define what that target skill or behavior is, consult some norms to figure out what expected growth or norms are. Select how you're going to progress monitor, determine how much progress you want to see them make, and then actually write the goal. So in the first step about establishing the present level, the need for your goal should be documented in the present level. And then vice versa, the needs that you write in the present level should have a goal. So if you include in your present level some concerns in the area of math or some concerns in the area of life skills, you should have goals for those concerns. And then any goal you have in your IEP should have something in the present level that supports it. So that just kind of tells you what your baseline is and where the student is at this specific moment in time. And like I said, we do have a separate webinar on writing the present level if you need support with that as well. The second step is to prioritize need. So for students who maybe have a lot of areas of need, here are some tips for selecting what you want to work on. So you might start with early developing behaviors and skills, so things that are more foundational to learning other further skills. Things that the student has a reasonable chance of learning in a year, so we want to make that reachable and attainable, and given the student's specific situation or condition that they have a reasonable chance of learning that skill. You might select skills that will make the biggest change or the most meaningful difference in a student's life. So if you're working with a transition age student and you're looking at some post-secondary things, what would make the biggest impact there? So you might consider things like severity, frequency, how functional something is, what developmental stage the student's at, and then how important things are to a family or student. You might have families who really have some priorities that might be different in the schools, and so to balance that priority and importance to the family. The third step is to actually define that skill or behavior. So all of the skills we're measuring should be observable and measurable, and anybody should be able to take data on it because you've defined it and written out what it is. Always focus on what the student will do, not what they won't do. So here's an example at the bottom. So instead of writing a goal like Jessica will have fewer outbursts in class, you might flip that to what they will do and say Jessica will utilize identified coping skills when experiencing frustration in class. So we want to always measure the positives and the skills they're learning rather than something they're not doing. Step 4 is to consult your norms. So think about what their typical peers are doing or how they're performing with this skill. Thinking about what the expected growth is in a year for a typically developing peer and adjusting according to your specific student. And knowing your student is important here. We have students who might make a lot of progress in one school year and some that have slower progress. And so knowing how much progress or what level you want them to be at is step 4. Choosing a progress monitoring tool is the next step. So you want to define then how will you measure that progress. So you know your baseline, you've decided where you want them to be in a year, and now this question is about how will I measure that. So things that you might include here would be a tally system, a time measurement, how long they can do something, a rating scale filled out by teachers or parents, some kind of benchmark assessment, something in the curriculum, a checklist, a task analysis, whatever that might be. But defining and selecting that progress monitoring tool is this step. Next is to determine your criterion. So what is the goal? So you might have something that is based on frequency, like the student would use at least 10 3-word utterances during a 20-minute therapy session. You might do something based on accuracy, like completing 10 fraction to decimal math problems with 90% accuracy. Or you might have something based on independence, especially around a life skill, like completing a 5-step hand washing process with no more than 2 prompts from adults. So there are different ways, depending on the skill, that it might make more sense to use different types of criteria. The last step then is actually drafting your goal. And so that kind of leads us into our next sections. Kendra will discuss writing SMART goals using that format, and then I will discuss ABCDE goals.
Okay, we're going to talk today about writing SMART goals. As you'll see, S stands for specific, M measurable, A achievable, R relevant, and T time-based. So to write a SMART goal, you ask yourself individual questions for each category, like S specific, what will the child be able to accomplish? When will it be done, and how will it be done? And for M, you ask the questions, how much, how many, and how often. For achievable, you would say, is it realistic? Is it difficult enough? Or is it too easy? Think Andrew, sorry. Relevant, does this help reach us to get to a bigger goal? How does this relate to the student? And then time-based, is this, how much time is going to be needed to meet this goal, and how do you know if the goal has been met? So that's how you write a SMART goal. For specific target areas of academic and functional performance, you would include a clear description of the knowledge and skills that will be taught to the individual students. Some examples of that, Maggie will increase her organizational skills for academic success versus Maggie will use the skills of material using color coding, writing assignments in a planner, and doing to-do lists. For measurable, can be counted or observed. Allow teachers and parents to know how much progress is made between benchmark measurements, and gives a specific point at which the goal is met. An example of this, Maggie will use the skills of color coding, writing assignments, using a planner, daily to-do list, measured by achieving a certain score on a 3-point weekly check-in with the resource teacher. Achievable, realistic and appropriate challenging. Use your data. Andrew F. Goals designed to help students achieve more than minimal progress. You want to set the bar a little higher than minimal. Reasonably calculated to enable a child to make progress appropriate in light of the child's circumstances. So using the same background material for Maggie will use the skills, using color coding, writing assignments, a planner, a daily to-do list, measured by achieving a certain score on a 3-point weekly check-in with the resource teacher. Relevant, addresses the unique needs of each individual student, relates to the team goals and student progress, relates to post-secondary goals, and it ties back to your page 3. And this we would want to add, as measured by achieving a score of 3, on a 3-point weekly check-in with the resource teacher. And time bound, gives expected amount of time to make the progress. So you would want to add to that for 7 to 9 weeks of the quarter.
Okay.
Now Jessica will talk about the ABCDE.
Yep, so that was a SMART goal format, and the ABCDE one was actually newer to me. I learned about it in a class I took this last summer, and I thought it was great. And so in this example, the acronym stands for audience, behavior, condition, degree, and evidence. So we'll kind of go through each of those in an example that builds on itself like the last one. So A is audience, which is just who will be performing the task. So this is just naming your student who's going to do it. So we're going to take the goal, Maggie will improve her independent living skills, and change that into something that's a little more specific. So for audience, all I have down there is Maggie. That is who will be performing whatever the rest of our goal is. Behavior is defining that specific skill. Remember, it has to be measurable and observable. And there should be a focus on what the student will do, not what the student will not do. So for the behavior, I added will improve her ability to prepare simple meals in the microwave. That is the specific behavior that we're looking at for this goal. C is the condition. So under what conditions or what support is needed. So you can see for this one, I added with no more than 3 verbal prompts from staff. D is degree, so this is your progress measure. Again, earlier we talked about that might be frequency, accuracy, independence. So I added in purple here that she will improve her ability to prepare simple meals in the microwave from 3 known meals to 10 known meals. So that outlines that right now my baseline is that she can prepare 3 known meals in that microwave, but I want to see her grow to knowing 10 meals with no more than 3 verbal prompts from staff. Evidence is about what is your measurement tool, how will you know when it's met. And then, so at the bottom of that goal, I added an orange as measured by teacher data collection sheets. So that tells us how we will know or how we're tracking that. I also added on here at the top in black a statement about that this is a goal designed specifically to meet or address one of her post-secondary goals. So remember, if you are writing transition IEPs, at least one of your annual goals should tie back to those 3 post-secondary goals that you note on the transition page. And we do have a whole other webinar on that transition page too, if you'd like to check that out. So I just added a statement about supporting her post-secondary goal of living semi-independently. Kendra will talk about.
Go ahead, Jessica, sorry.
I think we have a little lag here. Go ahead.
Now I'll talk about objectives. The requirements objectives are only required by the state when students are on an alternative assessment plan. And many districts have their own policies around this. Check with your administrator of your specific district. Choosing objectives. Objectives should give you a roadmap of how you are going to go from your baseline to your goal. These are smaller milestones. For example, your baseline may be Jessica currently can wipe her desk down with 2 gestural prompts, and when someone else has sprayed the cleaner on it. Her goal would to grow to independency. Jessica will be able to clean her work area independently. Objectives, Jessica will be able to operate the spray cleaner bottle to spray down her desk with an appropriate amount of cleaner. She will fold a cleaning towel in half independently, and she will wipe the entire surface of her desk with only a single verbal prompt. So and we would like to thank all of you for watching, and we would like you to fill out our Google form, and so we know who participated in this slideshow, and we thank you for watching.
Thank you.